Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining another webinar by Invest. This is Khalid Saleh. I am the CEO and co-founder of Invest. Today, we have a very special guest who's joining us from Austin, Texas. He typically does not operate there, but we'll talk about that in a minute. The topic is also very interesting if you're just starting to do conversion optimization, trying to figure out how to increase your website conversion rate or campaigns conversion rate or landing page conversion rate, or if you've been doing it for a while. Our guest today is André Morys. He is the CEO and founder of konversionsKRAFT. Now, André is an old-timer, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying that, but he is. He's been in the e-commerce industry now for since 1996. Really, he's seen it. He has seen it all. He founded back in 1996 WebArts AG. Now it has about 70 consultants, and the name changed to konversionsKRAFT. He is very focused on qualitative research, user testing, combining that with consumer psychology, behavioral economics, and game theory, ultimately with the goal of delivering the most impact for his clients. Just before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. If you see on the right-hand side of your GoToWebinar software, there is a question area. So please, as André goes through his presentation, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them there. The webinar is scheduled to go for 35 minutes. After that, we will leave about 10 minutes for Q&A. Also, we always get asked the question. We will post the webinar on our YouTube channel this coming Monday, so you'll receive a recording of the webinar. At the end of the webinar, also, I have a special offer from us to our webinar attendees. So this relates to the conversion benchmark report. It's a new report that we rolled out in the last 3 months, and there is lots of demand for it. So we'll have a special offer for our webinar attendees. With that, let me go ahead and turn it to André. So André, let's go ahead. And André, thank you for joining us. And you're talking to us from Austin, Texas, although usually you're based in Germany.
Yes.
What took you there?
Hi, first of all, and thanks for having me here. Yes, I'm speaking tomorrow at Conversion Excel conference organized by CXL, Pep Laya. Second time for me, and yeah, I'm speaking from time to time in North America. So yeah,
very cool. Very cool.
One of these days.
Awesome. You know, I was chatting with André, and we're talking about just the conversion optimization industry. Mm-hmm. We both attended the very first conversion conference back in 2009. We did not know each other at that point. So
no,
yeah.
So yeah, I remember that it was in San Jose. Yeah, with people. Yeah, I only knew from books like Brian Eisenberg. One of my heroes when I read Waiting for Your Cat to Bark in 2006. That was one of the books that really, I would say, inspired me to focus on conversion rate optimization and UX and customer experience. So meeting all these people in real life, that was very amazing back these days. Yes.
Awesome. Well, with that, I'll let you get started. Again, reminder: if anybody has any questions, please feel free to use the questions section in GoToWebinar.
Yes. So, and I activate my picture so you can see who's talking. Good. So yeah, topic today is disruption starts in the mind of your customer. It's based on the feeling I have that a lot of C-suite people, management people, they talk about disruption, disruptive growth, disruptive business models, and it's usually the traditional companies that talk about disruption, right? The ones that are growing not that fast, as the Ubers and Airbnbs and Amazons of the world. So First of all, thanks for the very, very nice and well-prepared introduction today. I represent the network that I founded together with Chris Goward from Wider Funnel. It's called Global Optimization Group, because we realize that as optimizers, we need to work together. So in total, it's us and Wider Funnel as founding partners and some other agencies in the world that work together and collaborate. We call it the Go Group. So if we work for some international clients, that's important to know. But I like to start with an experiment because, as I said, some of the people I meet, they're talking about disruption, and maybe some of them, or disruptive growth, and maybe some of them have other pictures in mind than we have as optimizers, or maybe other pictures that compared to what a SaaS startup company has in mind. I'm sure in the Silicon Valley nobody's talking about disruptive business models because they know how to do that. So I would say this is all about recognizing patterns. And I don't know if you saw this little picture I showed you. It's called the Thatcher Effect or Thatcher Illusion. It's from 1980. Professor Thompson found it out that our brain has some problems with processing that image. So if it was too fast, I switched back. I showed again. Look at that. 1 second. And usually ask, did you see the 3 mistakes in that picture? And number 1 is, oh, that was not Margaret Thatcher, that was Theresa May, right? Second one, it was upside down. And a few people realize that eyes and mouth in one of these pictures are some kind of awkward. We don't know exactly what it is, but as soon as I turn it around, you might see the problem. And the question is, why is the human mind not able to process this when the picture is the other way around? And this is because it's hard to decode that pattern. Our brain is not a machine that is able to, like a computer on a rational level, to analyze this and immediately say what's wrong. The brain is guessing and feeling, and so it's hard for the brain to see this little mistake as soon as the picture is flipped the other way around. And it's the same. Why am I starting with this little experiment? Because it's the same when we're talking about things like disruptive growth or growth in general. Everybody has its own concept. Everybody has its own perspective and meaning. And today I'd like to change the perspective a little bit, because I think it's important to see the truth. There are some core and fundamental things you should know about growth and things like customer experience. And like I flipped the picture back to its normal version, I'd like to show you the picture of growth and what's cause and effect of growth. So this is a picture of the city where I am from, Frankfurt, Germany. And you see there is one bank that has the biggest tower of all of these banks, so the biggest skyscraper. Somebody wanted to make a statement here. It's a traditional company, and this is a completely fictional dialogue, but I'm sure this is one of these traditional companies that say, damn, why do people still need a bank account from us, right? They have PayPal, they have new online banking opportunities. Even if they need a loan or whatever, there are online solutions for that. And a bank is maybe not required anymore in the next couple of years. So how do you react on a strategic challenge like this with a company of that size? This is why I realized this is the type of C-suite guy or girl here on the top floor of this bank that maybe has some not that good nights, right? Not that good sleep. But when we look at the website, imagine I like to open a bank account here. And look at that. They talk about drones and football. I'm sorry, it's in German, so you have to believe me. Here I get a loan. So I click on the menu and I search, where's the bank account? Here. It says free bank account. Again, football. Do I want football? No. No, where's the bank account? So let's scroll down a little bit, find the bank account. And you know, while on the top management, they think they're going to die, I look at the website and I say, yes, maybe you have some problems to solve, because they tell me, they show me a video about, and here we start. Now, this is the first information about the bank account. And here I have the first button saying, open the bank account. So I click on it and I think, damn, that looks ugly, right? And some clever online marketing guy said, let's put a banner here saying it only takes 5 minutes, right? So people don't realize that this will be a lot of work, because it's a one. Somebody told us, make a one-step bank account application form. Look at this. Who really thinks about filling out this form? This is it's not possible. There's all these legal text inside these iframes, and that was just the beginning. Look at that. There's even more. There's even more. I would say it's, from a logical point of view, it's kind of impossible to open a bank account here. So why am I telling you this? Because I think it's two different perspectives on the same thing. There's somebody thinking, damn, we have to be more agile, we have to be more digital, we have to manage this transformation. Let's talk about new work and leadership 4.0, whatever. While somewhere in the basement, there is somebody, there are all these skills that they need. Somebody did an A/B test maybe and already optimized 2% of the funnel. And what happens? C-suite people say, no, that's a UX thing, right? Button testing, what color is the right color? No, that's not our management topic. That's not our strategic problem. Go and talk to the UX guy. So this is why I think some optimizers call the decision makers hippos, which is also not very fair. What I realized from both sides, no pain, no gain. So sometimes there's still not enough pressure. So people really ask themselves, what should they change? And as you can see, there is this gap between management and tactical optimizers. In reality, this big corporation in Frankfurt, they have all the skills they need inside their teams to do things much, much better. The problem is, from a management level, they're not able to see the truth. And from my perspective, this book from Ray Dalio, Principles, inspired me a lot, because Ray says, in plain text, he says truth, or the ability to see the real challenge is a foundation for producing good outcomes, which means it's a foundation for producing growth, right, on an economical point of view. So do all these people see the real challenge? I would say no. Especially, it's maybe understandable from a perspective of a traditional taxi company. If you look at Uber, you think, damn, what's the difference between us and Uber? They have an app, they have technology, they have data, they have servers. Wow, they have maybe growth hackers, whatever. They have a disruptive business model. And I say, no, that's not true. Basically, what Uber has is a significantly better customer experience, right? It just sucks standing at the side of the street and waving and waiting for a taxi. It also sucks to call a number and being told it takes 10 minutes, but in fact it's 15. And call again, where's my taxi? No, that's not what we want. We want Ubers and all these other services because we have it in our app. We see where it is. it's just a great customer experience. So when we look at their growth, at their exponential growth, where does it come from? And that's where I want to change the perspective. Each of these dots is one Uber client, is somebody standing at the side of the street and deciding, no, I take an Uber because the customer experience is just this little bit better. And the same with Amazon. Everybody's talking about their logistics, their planes, their infrastructure, their data centers, their strategy, marketplace, whatever. No, we buy at Amazon because it just feels very secure and cool and neat and fast. Or Airbnb, all these travel clients we're working for, they copied the homepage animation in the background, right? Airbnb were the first ones that, by an experiment, found out that it's distracting, it's hurting the conversion rate, so they took it away again. Everybody else is not experimenting, so they don't know. Airbnb is growing because of a great customer experience. So what I want to say, if we're talking about growth and if we're talking about business models and all that stuff, actually we mean it's customers that decide to use a certain service or company because they just have a better customer experience. So every time we flip it around and we talk about technology and how to scale it and business and market, we forget that we mean customer. And I think it's you see on management level, you see some consultants that say the same thing, but the other way around. I would say the growth of a company starts in the mind of their customers. So if you don't get this customer experience inside the mind of the customer, you're failing. And I would say, I'm most of the time, if I'm not in Austin, Texas, I'm far away somewhere in Germany. And Germany, of course, the biggest online retailer is Amazon. The second, it's around, I think, 16 billion euros revenue. The second biggest online retailer is a very traditional German company called Otto. They have like 2 billion euros of revenue. And you see this difference. They say Amazon grows by one Otto each year. And Amazon started experimenting back in 2004 when most people in online business did not even know how to pronounce A/B testing. The amount of insights and learnings they have today is not possible to keep up that pace for these traditional companies, especially because of their sample size, right? 2 billion versus 16 billion. It's so much less sample size. So what's the problem here? It's a compound effect, right? If you start early and you start good, you learn and you learn and you learn. Most of your competitors won't see this thing coming, like a tsunami wave. When it's in the open water, it's very broad. You see like 200 kilometers. You can't see it. Only when it reaches you, and then it's maybe too late. So the little framework I tried to show is based on that. This is the growth wave, the exponential growth we like to have. Still, most of the companies do projects, so all their resources are blocked in a project, which means while resources are blocked and you're not shipping anything, you're automatically getting weaker compared to your competition, right? So you're falling behind, right? So this typical 1.5 year waterfall redesign, replatforming, SAP hybrid integration, whatever people can do, they pretend to be agile. They do projects, waterfall projects with agile teams. It really happens. That's the beginning of the end. So don't do that. This is why Amazon talks about day one and being agile. When we do A/B tests, each A/B test is something, each experiment is something that is agile because we use time boxing. We say for the next experiment or sprint, we want to have results in 2 weeks or maybe 1 or 4 weeks. So this is, from a mathematical point of view, needed to keep up with the pace of fast-growing companies. So you need shorter times and agility. One core principle of that you need to know that you can transfer directly on A/B testing, and the second one is being data-driven. For each sprint, you get data and insights. Did it work or not? You know, software engineers, they would be happy if they have data that shows them was my last release, was it good or not? And finally, that was what I was talking about the last 10 slides. If you're customer centric, and if you do not innovation because you want to innovate, but because you want to solve your customers' problems, you want to learn more about their needs, then your probability that your optimization sprint will be successful is much higher. So this is like the magnetism, right, that pushes you up in experimentation and A/B testing. So in total, this is a system that generates validated learnings, which means each time you deliver something, you release something that is not tested, you miss the opportunity to learn something. I don't know. I think Avinash Kaushik once said that under some circumstances a kitten dies. I would say if you miss the chance to validate your learnings, something worse than a kitten dies. I don't know what. So 3 things you can do. First of all, implement an optimization process, right? A/B testing is nothing that some lonely testing girl or guy should do in the basement and waiting for anybody else if they have an idea to test something. No, experimentation should be in the heart and the DNA of your company. And basically, experimentation means analyze your customers' reality, find their needs, ideate solutions for better customer experience, prioritize them. If you're good, you have hundreds of ideas what you could do, but it's a principle of Agile that you only pick the best ones, and then you validate what learns and what not. And I would say these 3 factors together, this is your ability to scale. So, which means, I mean, this is based on the wider funnel model of their conversion optimization process. I changed it a little bit. For example, I put the prioritization thing here in the middle, because you put your ideas here in your database, in your log of all the ideas, and when you validate them, you take them out here. The thing is, if you have weak ideas, I know companies doing hundreds of A/B tests each year with a lousy success rate because they have weak ideas here. So weak ideas means one factor is 0 and the whole product is 0. The same if you fail to validate, if you have a weak test design, weak test development, quality issues, tracking issues, same thing. You could have great ideas, but test them wrong, still 0. Or if you're prioritizing wrong, still 0. You garbage in, garbage out, right? So these are the 3 core elements you need to know that you can influence the overall success of your optimization program. And second, that was what I wanted to tell you about the difference between the lonely testing guy or girl versus management level. It is our job to change the mindset of the management, of the C-suite, because I met so many management people and they say conversion rate optimization, that's this button testing thing, right? So no, it's not. It's a 1% uplift that doesn't push the needle. Yes, but do it 100 times. So what's the result? Most of the people want to say, yeah, 100%. No, you forgot the compound effect. It's 267%. So the question is your success repeatable? People need to know that. Usually traditional management people don't know that. So they still think in big projects, because big projects make a big impact. That's wrong. Dozens or hundreds of small changes, much bigger impact, much more security as an investment. Maybe the name is wrong when we talk about conversion rate optimization. It implies changing small things. So use different words. there are other things you can use. It's all basically it's all the same, right? If you call it lean startup, agile product development, or lean UX, insights driven, but it's all the same. It means validate your ideas, learn faster than your competition. And third thing you can do when you're reporting business impact, most of the people make a big mistake. They say 10% uplift in e-commerce, 10% more revenue per visitor. We make 300 million bucks a year, so damn, we just earned 30 million. That's a big mistake. No, you didn't. Conversion rate uplift in an experiment does not equal bottom line business impact you generated. So that might be your report for an optimizer that shows you if you did a good job or not. Looks great. Nearly 50% of the tests have been successful, but you need that the CFO of the company must be your friend and understand what you're doing as an optimizer, right? So report overall business impact to him, import ROI, tell him why there's a distribution of uplift. So there's a chance, a certain chance, that the ROI of the overall program will be somewhere between 1,400 and 3,400%, if it's that. Or visualize the impact of your experimentation ROI on the overall revenue, whatever. Of course, you have some success metrics like amount of experiments, success rate, average uplift, whatever, that you could add here. So you see health metrics, everything fine. But yeah, talk to the CFO what he needs to know. So these are my three principles, how optimizers can get out of the basement and start talking to the management. So that's it from my side. I don't know if any of you understands German. I read a book. I wrote a book. I read a book. I also read it, but I wrote a book about that. It's unfortunately still only available in German. It's called The Digital Growth Strategy. And if you're also close to Europe, close to Frankfurt, you can visit us. September 3rd, we are doing the 10th edition of the Growth Marketing Summit. We expect around 800 people in Frankfurt, and we have great talks from Eric Ries or people from Booking.com and so on that teach us more about business agility and yeah, how we can rescue the rest of the world. That's it. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Andre. That was very, very insightful. You've been doing conversion. Oh, you know what? I'm going to turn on my my camera too. How about that? Yeah, actually, I'm speaking from our Istanbul office.
Oh.
So I decided to come home. So we have an office in the U.S. and an office in Detroit, Michigan, and an office in Istanbul, Turkey, and I'm back and forth.
Cool.
So you've been doing conversion optimization now for a while.
Yes.
What do you think the biggest challenge in selling the C-suite initially on a conversion optimization project, and then to persuade them to continue actually investing in an optimization project?
Yeah, that's what I said. They don't know what they're not knowing, right? So everybody has a picture in their mind. So when management level hears a word like conversion rate optimization, it resonates with them maybe on the wrong side of the brain. And that's what we do. We teach them that this is not some fancy things you could do. It's the core of fast-growing businesses. They have to learn that. That's what I think. Most of the management people look at the wrong things when they ask themselves, what could we learn from Booking.com? Should we use the same way they use scarcity and social proof and things like that? And they say, no, maybe not. If you're selling fashion, this is maybe the wrong way to sell fashion. But what you can learn from them is their way of really embracing experimentation as a growth factor. The whole company, it's their goal that everybody inside the company is able to do an experiment. And yeah, I think it's an old top-down versus bottom-up philosophy thing, right? Experimentation and things like that means bottom-up. The customer decides what's good and not, or my employees create that information. Maybe some of the bosses of traditional companies are still used to decide from their gut feeling, and they feel mighty while they're doing that. So this is maybe some culture clash problem here, but it's all about educating them, showing them the results, maybe agree on do a small proof of concept thing so they learn what the value is, and then decide to go further and accelerate a little bit. But yeah, they're damned to do it properly from the beginning, right? There's no time to try out and spend the next 10 years. The wave is coming.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I was reading a book recently that I like a quote from it. I think, and I'll apply it kind of, it was talking about innovation. But it's interesting because the way the author, Professor Clay Christensen, so he said, you know, I'm not going to teach you what to think. I'm going to teach you how to think.
Yeah.
And I think really that's what conversion optimization, what comes down to. Yes, you want to show the results, but really long-term success is about understanding the process and adopting the process. Let me ask you a second question, and then I'll go to the offer that we've had to our webinar attendees. So we were just at Shop Talk. It's the largest e-commerce show in the US, and I've had several C-suite executives walk up to our booth, and you know, the common thing that I heard from them is, we've been doing experimentation now for a while. We see uplifts. We see A/B tests that are successful consistently, but they're not able to track that uplift to a financial gain, the bottom line, which is, I think, what you said. It's not, again, an uplift is not necessarily, it's not one-to-one relationship. How do you handle that with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, there are several ways. What we do when we completely handle optimization programs is, from time to time, we do a so-called control experiment. So sometimes it's like reverse engineering. We take away all the things we did, the improvements in the last year, just to measure the overall effect, the cumulated effect. Or we even had clients that were able to completely freeze one, like a virtual server. So they had like www.xyz.de and www.1.xyz.de, and this subdomain with the one was frozen. So while we optimized with 80% of the traffic on the second server, on the primary subdomain, the other one stayed the same, so they could see the delta for a longer time, like 6 months to 12 months, to see the accumulated uplift.
I think that's basically what we do. Is probably every 6 months we will go back, either if the client has the control and we're keeping 10, 15, 20% of the traffic, or sometimes we'll say, you know what, we'll go back and we run experiments across the website against the controls, like 6 months, like, okay, here's how your site looked, and let's just run it, and you can see what kind of uplift you've actually generated. I think this is worth a whole other webinar just kind of to discuss that, because seeing that and seeing, hey, the old design you would have generated 60 million, the new design is doing about 90 million.
Yeah.
Which one would you like? And the answer becomes really easy.
The best thing would be, there's this quantum theory that it's all in foam. You have this different variations of reality. What if company A started with experimentation back in 2004, when there were just 1% of their current size, and another version of that company didn't do that? How would they evolve over, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years? From my perspective, I would bet all my money on that company that does experimentation, because it's kind of, I say it's accelerating evolution, right? Why are companies dying? Because there's like a selection pressure from the outside, the ones that are evolving faster than the other ones. They kill the ones that are not evolving, right? And some end up like koala bears, only eating eucalyptus. How do you call it in English? I don't know. So very highly specialized. Of course, if some surrounding factors change, they die immediately, these companies. And when you do experimentation, it actually means you're staying flexible, you're evolving, you're accelerating evolution, you're learning faster than the competition. So it makes you stronger. From my perspective, I would not, as a CEO, I would not need the financial proof because this, from a theoretical background, would make complete sense to me. I don't want to be that highly specialized thing that does not change over the years. There are too many companies that already failed because they did not adapt to the changes from the outside.
Completely agree. I mean, if you just think about the top companies right now, 25 years ago, you had a completely different set of the top 30, 40 companies.
Yeah.
And I think 25 years from now, you'll have probably a new set of companies. It's those who are able to adapt to change with the time, understand their customers, really understand why customers buy from them, the fundamental drivers for customers to actually come and interact with them. Just like Uber versus taxis. So, those are the companies that are able to.
They will ask you, your grandchildren will ask you in 25 years, they will say, Granddad Khalid, how was it to drive a car on your own? We can't imagine. Right? Things like that, of course. And we can't imagine. We know that the human mind can't imagine exponential growth. So think back 20 years when you had a floppy disk with 600 kilobytes.
Oh man, I still remember the first computer my dad got. We didn't even have a hard drive at that point. So the first computer, not to date ourselves. With that, let me just kind of mention the offer that we have. So one of the things that we get asked quite a bit is how well is my site doing? And one of the most common questions I hear, what's the average e-commerce conversion rate? Am I doing better or not? And I always tell people, if that's the question you're asking the wrong question. Because the real question is, how can I create a really disruptive, customer-centric offer that really will outperform my competitors completely? But because we hear that question quite a bit, we said, you know what, let's benchmark different sites. So we created a conversion benchmark report using 20 different criteria to evaluate different websites, from the brand voice to trust signals to the use of persuasive messaging, and we benchmark those websites. So it's 20 based on 20 different factors. Let me ask you, Andre, what do you think kind of the average websites that we benchmark out of 100? What do you think their score is? Take a wild guess.
Depends on how representative your sample is, but I have my experiences. We do our own benchmarking in Germany, and they're around 20% out of the maximum of 100 points, or 100%. They can get like 23%. It's really, really weak. The distribution is not equal or linear. There's some, let's call them unicorns, that really created that customer-centric organization, and they do all the things right, and the masses are really weak. There's a big potential for them. So I would estimate 23%.
I like the accuracy. The average as of now, I would have to say it's like about 41 out of 100.
Okay.
But 95% of the companies we benchmark score below 50%, 50 out of 100, which is really incredible. We're talking about 2019, but it seems like people don't learn. We I would say healthcare.gov, regardless to where you stand, and if you're based in the US, on what you think of it. That site cost, I think the final estimate is $1.6 billion. That's billion with a B. And the amount of usability and customer centricity issues in the website is amazing to me, because it's almost like they started from zero. They threw away all the literature, all the learnings that we've had in the last 20 years, and they said, okay, we're going to make the same mistakes again. So with
they're
that,
resilient against learning, right?
there you go. There you go. If any of our webinar attendees would like to receive the benchmark report, if you're making $2 million in annual revenue or more, go ahead and email convert@invest.com. It usually takes us about a week to get one of those reports. We'll have 2-3 specialists completing the report, and then we'll present you with that report free of charge. It's just a way for people to really get started, to start thinking about conversion optimization. With that, Andre, thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule. I know you're in Austin and you're about to speak also shortly. Our webinar attendees, thank you for taking the time to attend. Really insightful. Hopefully, Andre will have you in a future webinar as well. There's a lot to talk about. We'll have the recording on the YouTube channel this coming Monday. With that, thank you, everyone.